What's happening, everyone? It's your boy here, Abdurrahim, back again with another great amazing tech video. Well, the video of today is all about the iPhone 5 SE. Well, Apple announced the iPhone 5 SE, and to be honest about this phone, is it got some new kind of features compared to the first generation of the iPhone 5 SE. And for further ado, let's get started. Thinking about the iPhone 5 SE second generation, well, it is a small factor phone having that kind of 4.7 inches of the display, and it has an Apple A13 Bionic chip, and it has an Apple GPU with 4 cores of graphics. That means it's more upgradable than compared to the old version and that kind of stuff. The storage side, it has a 64GB of storage and a 3GB of RAM and a 128GB of storage and a 256GB of storage, which is quite decent to my own kind of aspect. Video wise, when it comes to video, it shoots video up to 4K 60 frames per second, which I think to my own kind of aspect is something which is so convenient. When it comes to selfie camera, when it shoots a video up to 1080p, and it has a 7 megapixel of camera, which to my own kind of aspect is quite decent still, and that kind of stuff. It has a fingerprint mounted with Touch ID, which I think Touch ID still, it's way back, but still reminiscing the memory using this phone. It's quite amazing. The battery side, it's a little bit a killer. It has 1821 milliampere of battery, which I think to my own kind of aspect is quite decent, but they could just upgrade it to 2500 milliampere of battery. It will be more and more decent. Talking about this kind of phone, well, it's a really nice and affordable phone to be grinding out of it, and it has different types of colors when it comes to the color side. So these colors are black, white and red, so there's no like those kind of fancy color when you get from the iPhone 11, but you get just some few colors which they're quite amazing. The iPhone 5 SE second generation, I think to my own kind of aspect, it's more way improved for the first generation how it is, because the first generation had the body of an iPhone 5, and it's just reminiscing those memory of how much people they were got used to the iPhone 5, how the body it looked like, how the features of the iPhone 5 it was, but they try to push it more in the iPhone 5 the first generation with those kind of new features and having that kind of new chipset compared to the older chipset which it had on the iPhone 5. So the iPhone 5 SE second generation, I think to my own kind of aspect, it targeted those users who they want just a small factor phone. They don't want a bigger phone like a 5-inch display or 6-inch display. They decided just to go a little bit more way beyond, giving that kind of chipset of A13 Bionic chip. You know how much the A13 Bionic chip works. It's a really powerful chip which gives you more things to be grinding out of it. So here's the thing, Apple, what they do, they usually enhance their phones into different capability. First thing first, you might be getting a small RAM, but how it works is quite different. The operating system, how it's grinding throughout, mechanize of the apps, how you use the camera, how it interacts with the UI and stuff like that, is quite different than Android, how they work. So I think to my own kind of aspect, people are supposed to not complain about 3GB of RAM, and Apple know best how they can enhance their phone throughout software. So I think to my own kind of aspect, that still is the way to go. Another kind of stuff, I think to my own kind of aspect, when it comes to the camera side, still it's so amazing. You are being able to shoot a video of 4K up to 60 frames per second. The only downside is the battery. So to me overall, battery is the weakness of the phone. Like, it has 1800 and something, and I think to my kind of aspect, they could push it more, 2500. Perhaps the form factor, they could not have that kind of spacing. That's what they usually say on the hardware. They don't have that kind of spacing of pushing that battery. But I think to my own kind of aspect, it could be legitimate perhaps on the future next iPhone SE third generation. They could just add more battery out of it, and they supposed to stick with 5.0 inch display instead of 4.7. I think that's my way to go. And they could just the bezels of the phone, they could be just a little bit more beyond. Like, we don't need bezels that much, at least tweak around on the bezel side. Another kind of stuff, Touch ID, it's a good thing, but at least they could tweak the Touch ID, and they could make that kind of phone looks more greatness on when it comes to looking out of it and other kind of stuff. The camera side, they could just toss in some more kind of camera. So I'm like going into mid-range, but not that much mid-range. But I think they could just enhance that phone to be at least in the middle at a certain peak whereby you're like, yeah man, this now a little bit, it's quite not bad. So I think those are the things which, if it was me, I could just be focusing on more. But still, the iPhone SE second generation, it's a more powerful phone out there for the people who would like a small factor phone. So I hope to this kind of video you got the info ASAP. Let me know in the comments down below what you're thinking about the iPhone SE second generation. Is it something for you, or you're like, meh, I don't want this phone, let me push it fast forward and I'll be getting another kind of iPhone phone. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you got the info ASAP. I'll be seeing you guys on the next one. As always, stay sharp and creative, and let me know in the comments down below. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. I really appreciate on that. And last but not least, kudos. Peace.